Okay, so have you ever swiped left or right so many times your thumb starts to cramp? Kidding. But seriously, dating apps, they're like this whole other world, right?
And it's not just the swiping, it's the whole thing. Algorithms, what to say, what not to say. It's a lot.
Totally. And today, we're going deep on all of it. We've got this, well, it's actually not an app itself. It's a plan for a whole podcast about dating apps, which is kind of meta when you think about it.
It is. It's fascinating. It's like we get to peek into what this podcast creator thinks people want to know, what they're worried about when it comes to, finding love online.
Exactly. Like episode 1, they've got it titled Crafting the Perfect Profile. I mean, that says it all, doesn't it?
It really does. It's like in the digital world, your profile, that's your first impression, but it's got to be like this perfect snapshot of you. Do you think it's even possible to get all of you into that little space?
It's like walking into a party where everyone already knows each other, right? You're trying to play it cool, but inside you're like, do I look okay? Should I have worn something different?
And that leads perfectly into their next episode idea, navigating conversations. So you get the match, now what?
Yeah, that's way different from meeting someone in person. Like, we're wired to read body language, hear their tone of voice, all that. Texting, it's just not the same. Awkward silences take on a whole new meaning.
Seriously, you're trying to be funny, flirty, even a little sarcastic, but it's all got to come through in the emojis you pick and how long you wait to reply. It's a skill.
Oh, and just when you think you're getting the hang of it, the source material hits you with safety first. Sobering, right?
It is. It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of it all, but the online world, it's got its dark side too, unfortunately.
For sure. And it sounds like this podcast, they're not shying away from that. They even mention having an online safety expert.
Which is smart. Everyone wants to find love, but not at any cost. Safety has to be a priority.
Absolutely. But, okay, let's say you've swiped right, had a good conversation, you're feeling optimistic, but then things don't pan out. And that seems to be the heart of their next episode, understanding expectations.
Ooh, that's a big one, and it really resonated with me. I think it speaks to how easy it is to get caught up in like this fantasy of what love should be like, especially when you're meeting someone online.
And it's so easy to get sucked into that comparison trap, you know? You're scrolling through profiles and everyone's like living their best life, perfect vacations, perfect smiles. It's intimidating.
Right. It's like everyone's Instagram versus, well, actual reality.
Yeah.
And it's not just comparing yourself to them. It's also you start expecting your matches to be like those idealized profiles too.
Totally. You're setting yourself up for disappointment before you even meet. Which maybe explains why their next episode is dealing with rejection and ghosting. Oof, those words alone are enough to make you want to delete your apps, right?
It's rough out there.
Yeah.
Like on one hand, you've got all these possibilities, right? So many people to connect with. But then there's the flip side, the judgment, the wondering if they've seen your message and are ignoring you.
Yeah.
It can mess with your head. No kidding. And they're not pretending it's all sunshine and roses either. The source material mentions having a therapist who specializes in online dating as a guest, which I thought was interesting.
Oh, definitely. It says a lot about how this whole online dating thing, it's not just fun and games. It can really impact your mental health if you let.
Big time. It's like learning to ride a roller coaster. You got to enjoy the highs, but be prepared for the lows too. And remember, it doesn't define you.
Exactly. And maybe that's where their next episode comes in. They called it Success Stories and Lessons Learned.
Oh, yeah, I liked that one. It's like a little dose of hope, proof that people really do find love online.
It's reassuring. Like, hey, it's a jungle out there, but people make it through.
And not just the success stories, they emphasize the lessons learned part too. So it's not just, look, they found their person. It's acknowledging that it's a process with bumps along the way.
Right. You're going to have those almost relationships, the awkward dates, maybe even a little heartbreak. It's part of the deal. Definitely. Okay, but then they take it a step further. Their final episode, it's the future of dating apps. And honestly, who even knows with that one?
Talk about a question mark. It seems like every day there's a new app, a new feature, a new way to like game the system or whatever.
Yeah.
It's hard to keep up.
I know. Will we all be having virtual reality dates soon? Will algorithms pick our partners for us? Part of me is curious, but the other part is like, let's not get ahead of ourselves here.
Right. I mean, it makes you think, in all this swiping and matching, are we kind of forgetting what it's all about in the first place? Like connecting with another human being on a real level.
100%. And speaking of questions, the outline also mentions a bonus episode, a listener Q&A. Sounds like they're expecting a lot of burning questions from their audience. I can already imagine the emails pouring in. How do you know if they're really into you or just keeping their options open? Should you read into every little emoji? And the big one who's supposed to message first after a match?
It's like everyone wants the cheat codes for love, right?
Yeah.
But maybe that's part of what makes it so tricky.
Because at a certain point, you're not really connecting with them. You're connecting with your idea of them or who you hope they are, you know?
It's so true. And it goes back to what we were saying before about technology kind of taking over this very human thing. Maybe instead of looking for the right answers, the expert advice, we should be asking ourselves, what feels right for me?
Totally. Like dating apps, they can be a tool, they can open doors, but they can't tell you what your heart wants. That's got to come from you.
Exactly. So yeah, learn the tips and tricks, swipe smart, all that, but also listen to your gut, know your worth, and don't be afraid to log off every now and then and reconnect with yourself.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And hey, to all you listeners, we want to hear from you. Have you braved the dating app world? What did this deep dive make you think about? Maybe you've got some wisdom to share, some questions that'll spark a whole new conversation. Until then, happy dating, everyone.